Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom. I'm gonna start in a second. I know it's been a while, so Salakia, forgive me for that. It's been a lot going on the past few weeks, so forgive me for delaying the live streams, but we're gonna start in a second. Just give me a few more moments. Shalom, shalom, shalom to everybody coming in. Y'all forgive me for from sounding all crazy. I'm just recently coming off a mild cold, so I may still sound a little under the weather or a little crazy. Might be a cough here and there, so forgive me for that. I'm still recovering. It's been like a week, so um, bear with me for today. So forgive me for that. So shalom to everybody that's going to tune in. Hopefully this lesson definitely edifies and help those whoever is in need of it. That's the main thing. Help those who really need to hear it. So we're going to start in a second. Just give it one more minute or two. And this topic, this lesson was really it was inspired by this video that I seen, and it was completely unrelated to the Bible. You know, it had nothing to do with it, but it was something in there that this particular guy was talking about, and it inspired me to do this. It really did. So today, Lord willing, we're gonna get into it. But before we start, if anybody can hear me, let me know. I don't know if I sound too low or not. If anybody can hear me, just let me know. I know it may sound a little low because my voice not 100% back yet the way I want it to be. If you can hear me, let me know real quick before I start. I'm not sure if I'm loud enough. Let me know. Let me know. Give me one sec. Hold up. One sec. One sec. All right. Can anybody hear me? Okay. All praises. Your partner, pot. Shalom, sis. Shalom. Shalom. The sound is fine. All praises. All praises to the Most High. All praises. So, yeah. Shabbat shalom to everybody tuning in. Shabbat shalom to everybody that's going to tune in. As you can see in the thumbnail, it's pretty straightforward. And it says that, you know, you must endure. We must endure. Really, it's not just, you know, I'm not exempt. We all must endure to achieve the kingdom of heaven. And there's key things that we need that's going to help us endure. And that if we don't master these things, the kingdom is unreachable. You're not going to be able to make it without um, mastering these certain type of characteristics or fruits of the spirit. And what I mean by that, we talking about being long suffering, the art or the spirit of being long suffering. That's the key thing that we need, or being a stoic type of person. And that's what the guy was talking about in one of his videos. He was mentioning how that he was a stoic person, or he said that people classify him as a stoic person. And for those who don't know what stoic means, I'll define it for you really quick. It says a person who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. So again, the definition of stoic, it reads as a person who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. So when he said that he was stoic, and I looked up what it meant, it made me go, that's something that I can definitely improve on, is being stoic. Because that's something we all need to be able to even walk this walk. Because as the chosen, as people who's trying to walk with Hamashiach, we're going to go through a lot of hell. We're going to go through a lot of hell, a lot of tribulation. And he mentions that. He mentions about Israel going through tribulation, going through trials. And in order to endure that, you have to be a long suffering. We have to master the art of being long suffering and learn how to be a stoic person. Because a lot of us, I'm pretty sure we all heard, you gotta endure, you gotta endure, you gotta endure. But how do we really endure? Like how do we do that? The scriptures tell us how to do it. It's the art of being stoic and being long suffering. And before I bring up the scripture, let's read the definition of long suffering, because these things go hand in hand. So it says long suffering. It says having or showing patience in spite of troubles, especially those caused by other people. And that's one thing I definitely noticed, over the years of being in the faith. The reason why a lot of people may end up going back into the world and just leaving the faith altogether, because you can't really leave the truth. You don't leave the truth. The truth is the truth. But you can walk away from Hamashiach, from the Lord. You can do that. But that's one of the main reasons why, from what I've seen, why people end up walking away from the faith is because they not long suffering, or they can't endure the hardship either caused by things in the world or caused by other people. And because of that, that's their excuse to say, oh, you know what? Well, I'm done with this. I'm done. It's not for me. The Hebrew Israelite community is bad. I can't do this. And that's why a lot of people will not end up achieving the kingdom of heaven, because you need to endure hardships. You need to be long suffering and to learn how to be a stoic person. That's why even Christ himself, Yahweh himself, said that he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. Why did he say that? Because he understood the same way he had to go through all those things, and Christ, Yahweh, been through it all. He been through it all. So there's nothing that he been through that, what I'm saying, that we go through compared to that. And he been through it all. And he even said that the paraphrasing, the servant is not above the master. So the same way that he had to go through persecution, whether it's through Satan himself or other people like the Pharisees and the scoffers, we gotta do the same thing. But he endured through that. And that's something that we need to learn if we trying to really get this kingdom. We have to be long suffering and learn to be a stoic type of person that can handle trials and tribulations. Shalom, shalom. Shalom, shalom, lady light, young man Ty, shalom, shalom, modesty, shalom, sister. Glad to see you made it in there. All praise to the Most High. But that's something that we need to make it in. So I'm gonna let's go ahead and jump to Galatians chapter 5. Because this is being stoic is biblical. AC, shalom, 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 shalom. All praise to the Most High. So being a stoic type of person is actually biblical. So let's go ahead and jump to Galatians chapter 5 real quick. Chapter 5, and we're going to start this on verse 22. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against there is no law. Against such there's no law. Salakia. So the key thing, one of the key things that mentions about the fruit of the Spirit that we all need, including myself, is long suffering. Because the problem with a lot of us, including myself, I'm guilty of it, but any sign of conflict or any hardship, kind of get into this frantic mode, this kind of this mindset that um things not going well, I don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? Just you know, I'm mad or I'm sad because whatever's going on. I'm guilty of that. If things not looking clear or if I'm not sure of how something going to turn out, I can kind of try to get control of it and want to do my own thing and want to try to get grasp of the situation, and you're not supposed to do that. Or when something get tough, I want to change the outcome, try to make things better. When a lot of times, the Most High want us to go through that hardship, go through that trial, because that's the refining process of becoming pure gold. You got to go through it. So in order to endure, to get through that, we got to learn this. We got to learn to be long suffering. We got to learn to be patient and calm, cool, calm, and collected when there's tribulation or hardships that we're going through. We got to be stoic. So again, Galatians 5, chapter 22. Chapter 5, verse 22 to 23. It says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law." So we have to learn that the fruits of the Spirit, such as long suffering, we have to learn that. So from there, let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 2. 2 Timothy chapter 2. And think about that too. The problem is a lot of people, unfortunately, once they hear we Israel and they understand that keep the laws and commandments, things like that, and we are chosen. A lot of us automatically think that because we do these things or we come to the faith that life is just going to get easier. Actually, it don't. It actually gets harder. Life gets harder because now the way we walking is contrary to the world. So the world is against the Bible and everything in its society, everything is against the Bible. So when we strive to walk with the Most High, walk with Yahweh Shah, we're going to be met with a lot of opposition, a lot of adversary, and a lot of hardships, spiritually and carnally, because this is the true way. The world hate the Most High, and we trying to follow the true way. So we got to put up with a lot of stuff. And for those who end up going back into the world, to following the ways of the world, they never had that fruit of the Spirit of long suffering. They don't know how to be patient in trials and tribulations. They don't know how to overcome hardships. That's why we say a lot of times that this walk is not for the weak. This walk is not for the weak, and everybody cannot walk this walk, which is why Yahweh Shai said that many are called, but few are chosen. Because only few got what it takes. Only few the Most High chose to put His Spirit in to be able to endure all this. Not everybody. They all can't do it. Shalom, Ashley. Shalom, shalom, shalom. So from there, let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 2. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, "Thou therefore, my son or sister," it says, "be strong in the grace that is in Yahweh Shah." So first verse, Paul is telling us to be strong. We got you. You gotta have tough skin and you gotta be strong to endure whatever Satan throw at you. You gotta be able to get over that. You gotta be strong enough to endure any trial or test that the Most High puts you through. And we got the examples all throughout the Bible. We got all types of examples. You have, for perfect example, Job, when he lost everything, family, health, everything, wealth died. I mean, his wealth, lost his riches, whatever he had, he lost everything. But in the end, through the entire process, He never left or forsook the Most High. He endured through that. He never complained. He never turned against the Most High. And in the end, what happened? He was blessed with even more than what he had going into it. Look at Tobit, for example, when he got dung in his eyes and white scales, blind for 8 years. 8 years he was blind, and finally came and got healed. So many examples. Look at Paul. We're going to read that too about Paul. Went through hell and back. I bet you Paul was stoic. He was very stoic to do all that. Yes, he was. So again, let's go back to verse 1. It says, "Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Yahushua, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to be faithful men who shall be able to teach others also. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahushua." So anybody that's coming into this walk, that's waking up and deciding, you know what, I'm going to follow the Most High through no matter what, Yahushua, I'm going to stick this thing out. Paul said, verse 3, "Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahushua." This is how we become long suffering. This how we learn to be long suffering. This how we build ourselves up in that particular spirit. Is we have to go through a lot of things that's going to test our patience and our faith and really put us to the test. This is how we gain that spirit of long suffering. This is how we learn to be a calm and cool and collected person through hardships. Without that, you're not going to grow in that type of spirit. And that's how the Most High mold us. We get put through different things, and he mold us based off whatever that we're going through. And that's one of them, is being long suffering and going through all these trials. So verse 3, it says, "Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahushua. No man that warreth entangling himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier." Verse 5, "And if a man also strive for masteries, yet is he not crowned except he strive lawfully." So it says, any man strive for anything. He is not crowned, meaning he don't obtain unto that until he strive lawfully. We cannot be easily provoked. That one thing I had a hard time dealing with. All praise. Exactly. That's one thing I know for a fact a lot of us struggle with, sister. Exactly right. We can't be easily provoked. Because what's going to happen? The first sign of adversity. Oh, I can't do this, I'm done. No, I'm out. A lot of us do that. Oh, I didn't know how to go through all this. I can't do it. I'm out of here. Because at the sign of a spark of a little trouble or hardship, we out of there. We gone. And we most certainly, we can't complain through those times either. Because we know how the Most High feel about those who complain. We read that in Numbers all throughout the Torah. We read that when Israel came out of Egypt to the wilderness, they were being led by the Most High, but because them being in that desert place for 40 years, they didn't like the condition they was in. They started complaining against the Most High, and guess what? He destroyed them. Yes, he destroyed them. The Most High don't like that. So even when, and look, that's another thing. That's part of being stoic as well, is when we can endure that without complaining. It's one thing to endure and be patient and go through it, but you got to be able to do it without complaining. That's a key thing. The Most High don't like that. We seen what he did to those who complained when he was leading them the entire time. Before they could get to the land, they had to go through that process of being in the wilderness for 40 years. But they proved themselves not be able to do it. And guess what? They didn't make it. So that's important too. When you're trying to learn to be stoic and you're going through these things, you have to learn to not complain. Just take it and roll with the punches. Take it and just roll with it. Praise the Most High and thank the Most High and pray through it. That's how we overcome. So let's go back to verse 5. It says, and if a man also strive for masteries, it says, yet is he not crowned except he strive lawfully. So whatever you're doing, you're trying to achieve, you got to strive for it. Now, for us in this faith, we got to strive for that lawfully, meaning we got to be doing things according to the Most High's laws and commandments. We got to strive to be crowned, because at the end, the most Yahweh Shah is going to be doing a crowning of all the saints. So if we strive for that, that's our reward. Verse 6, it says, the husbandman that laboreth must be first partaker of the fruits. Consider what I say, and the Lord giveth thee understanding in all things. So Paul is saying, consider these two things. Consider the husbandman that laboreth, the one that's into agriculture, how he got to strive and till the ground, he partake of the fruits, and then the man that strive for the masteries, but he's not crowned until he strive for it. So he's saying to consider these things. Verse 8, remember that Yahweh Shah, the seed of David, was raised from the dead according to my gospel, wherein I suffered trouble. And Paul went through, we're going to read that. Paul went through a lot. Wherein I suffered trouble as an evildoer, even unto bonds, but the word of God is not bound. Paul was getting locked up, beat on, cast out, a lot of things. Paul went through it all. So Paul can elaborate and explain these things well, because he was in the spirit of Hamashiach. Same thing Hamashiach went through, Paul had to go through that. And the same thing with us. Where we at? Verse 10. It says, therefore I endure all things for the elect's sake, that they may also obtain the salvation which is in Yahweh Shah with eternal glory. It is a faithful saying, for if we be dead with him, we shall also live with him. If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he also will deny us. And that's why a lot of people end up denying Hamashiach, because they can't endure that. They can't endure that. Look at Peter, for example. He seen how he was getting persecuted, and come to find out, when people knew who he was and they asked about him, they asked him, do you know he's one of the disciples too, right? You know this man? He said no. He denied him 3 times, because he seen what Yahushua was going through. But later on he repented, of course. But the point is, that's why people end up denying and rejecting. That's why they end up denying, rejecting, because that hardship that you got to go through. A lot of people, as scriptures say, don't count the cost. They don't consider what you got to go through. But if you don't go through, then we're not going to make the kingdom. We're not fit for the kingdom of heaven. We're not. You don't have the spirit of long sufferance, the characteristics of being stoic, which is a requirement if you're trying to strive for the kingdom. But check this out, right? Let's go to that's right, Ashley. Yeah, Paul rejoiced. He did rejoice. Exactly. He did rejoice. He rejoiced in his tribulation. Exactly. We can learn something for that. Meaning that we should try to get to that point where we rejoicing in hardness. But let's go to 2 Corinthians real quick. 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Oh man, it's a lot to y'all. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, and let's go ahead and start this on verse 23. It says, are the ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more in labors more abundant, and stripes above measure, and prisons more frequent, and deaths oft. So wait a minute. So Paul said, I am more in labors more abundant, and stripes above measure. So Paul was beaten. Paul got beat on. Yeah, he did. For Hamashiach. And prisons more frequent. Paul was getting locked up a lot. Yeah, he was getting locked up, It says, and death's off, meaning he was facing death a lot of times. He was facing death a lot of times. That's what Paul was going through for Hamashiach's sake. Long sufferings, all to help save Israel, or all to help, of course, save Israel, but also walk that Hamashiach did. Verse 24, it says, of the Jews 5 times received I 40 stripes, save one. Thrice was I beaten with rods. Once was I stoned. Thrice I suffered shipwreck. A night and a day I had been in the deep, and journeyings often, and perils of waters, and perils of robbers, and perils by mine own countrymen, and perils by the heathen, and perils in the city, and perils in the wilderness, and perils in the sea, and perils among false brethren, and weariness and painfulness, and watchings often, and hunger, and thirst, and fastings often, and cold, and nakedness. Beside those things that are without, that which cometh upon me daily, the care of all the churches. So Paul went through all of this, all these pearls, meaning troubles, tribulations, all for the sake of the church, all for Israel, all for Mashiach. Paul went through hell and back. Now just imagine if Paul never had these two things of being long suffering and being a person of stoicism, we would not be reading this today. We would not be reading this today at all. We would not have this example to learn from when we trying to perfect this walk. Because scriptures say, for whatsoever written aforetime was written for our learning. So we can learn from this. And Paul went through this for Israel and Hamashiach's sake. So you have to be long suffering for real to go through this. Israel today can't even go through a third of that. Israel can't do that. If Israel got beaten 40 times, they gone. God forbid. I'm talking about the ones who's not built for that. If a brother or sister had to get beat for Hamashiach, that's not that can't endure hardships, they out of there. And that's scary. That's scary and that's sad. Because we need that. So he went through hell and back. It's crazy. We can't imagine going through that. But we go through our own trials, tribulations in some kind of way, and we gotta get through. We can't complain. We gotta muscle through and endure and be patient through it all. So from there, let's jump to 2 Thessalonians. 2 Thessalonians, I'm gonna start on chapter 1 and verse 3 down to verse 5. So 2 Thessalonians chapter 1 and verse 3. It says, we are bound to thank God always for you, brethren, as it is meet, because that your faith groweth exceedingly in the charity of every one of you, all toward each other aboundeth, so that we ourselves glory in you in the churches of God for your patience and faith in all your persecutions and tribulations that ye endure. So you had people in the churches, the church that was going through hardships, but he says that their patience and their faith, he said that for your patience and faith in all your persecutions and tribulations that ye endure. So even the people back then was going through a lot of stuff, but they endured that. Again, he that endured to the end, the same shall be saved. Like I said, this walk is not for the weak. Your walk won't get easier. You will have easy times, yeah, but for the most part, when you're trying to strive for this, when you're trying to get this kingdom, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, and spirits and Satan's going to throw a lot of curveballs in your way, or you may just be simply getting tested by the Most High to see how you build. To see how you build. That's the refining process. Oh, Shalakia. People would think it's supposed to get easier. No, they don't. Some people go through hell all their entire life until the very last few months of their lives in this faith. But we gotta go through that. Everybody got their different assignments and their different lots that they have to, muscle through. That's why he says, he that overcometh will I get a crown of life, paraphrasing. We always seeing things about enduring and overcoming all kind of things. Shoot, even things in our flesh. We gotta overcome the things in our flesh. We gotta endure through the pains in our flesh, the troubles in our flesh. Even that, whether, like I said, whether it be from people, from the world, whether from people that's in the faith, or just even within yourself, even within your own body. Let's say you get extremely sick for about 20 years, God forbid. But because again, Job, he was sick. He got severely sick, close to death. He had to go through all that. So even in that, you have to be long suffering, stoicism, endure it all, and keep the faith, and be of good faith, and rejoice in that, because we know what's on the other side if we make it over. So verse 4 again, it says, so that we ourselves glory in you in the churches of God for your patience and faith in all your persecutions and tribulations that ye endure, which is a manifest token of the righteous judgment of God, that ye may be counted worthy of the kingdom of heaven, for which ye also suffer. And that's why we're doing this, to be found worthy and accepted from the Most High, to receive the kingdom of heaven. We know this life don't mean nothing. We know this life don't mean nothing. This present world don't compare to what's coming later on. So what's a few years of tribulation versus eternity of the kingdom of everlasting life? When you think about it like that, that's an even trade. That don't compare. I'd rather go through all kind of hell here and then make it over and have everlasting life forever and peace, happiness, and safety. I'd rather that. Like scriptures say, this life is but a shadow. You're only here for a moment. This don't mean nothing. We can't endure for a few years. And who's to say that we have 80 years, on the earth? We never know. Our assignment might be early. Just get through these few years, do what you got to do, and get out. And the Most High, have it that way. We never know. So that little suffering, that small tribulation should be nothing compared to the kingdom. If we can't do that, then can we say we deserve the kingdom? Can we say that we've been a soldier and a servant for Hamashiach if we can't even endure small things? Now, again, some may be, some people's tribulations may be greater than others, but, according to that person's will, the Most High will give it. But whatever we go through, small or great, we can't make it through that for the Most High's sake, for the kingdom of heaven's sake. That's why we're doing this. So again, verse 5, it says, which is a manifest token of the righteous judgment of God, that ye may be counted worthy of the kingdom of God, for which ye also suffer. You think about everybody that's in the world living their best life, they not going through nothing. They're not going through nothing. That's why David said, don't envy the prosperity of the wicked, because you don't know what they're in. But we can look at the people that's in the world. They're not going through nothing, living their best life, getting whatever they want, whenever they want, not knowing that that's all they get. It stops there for them. This world, that's it for them. But for us, we not from here. We don't belong here. We belong with the Most High. So this world for us is going to be the opposite. It's going to be troubles and perils and hardness. But it's worth it though. When you think about it, it's very worth it, because we from the Most High. We belong to the Most High. So by us being his people, he's going to make us go through some things to refine us and get us right for his kingdom. if we can't stand the refining process, we're not worthy so like it to be counted as gold. That's all it is to be refined through the fire, through affliction. Gotta do it. So verse 5, which is a manifest token of the righteous judgment of God, that ye may be counted worthy of the kingdom of heaven, for which ye also suffer. So let's go to James 5. James 5. We're going to jump to verse 7. James chapter 5 and verse 7 through 11. It says, Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth, and hath long patience for it, until he receive the early and latter rain. Because for those who don't know, a husbandman is a person who's basically a farmer that's into agriculture. So a farmer or a husbandman, he plant the seeds and he till the ground and work the ground in the field, and he gotta wait until the rain and he gotta wait for the increase. So he did all that work, he doing all this tolling, all this yard work, and planting these seeds, striving and slaving away the field, because that's hard work. He's doing all that and have to wait for the increase of the fruit. You gotta wait for that. So the same way as he's doing that, we have to do the same thing. Still putting forth good fruit, still showing good fruits while being patient for the coming of Hamashiach. We the same way. We gotta do the same thing. Keep working, keep striving, keep bearing good fruits while being patient for that latter rain, for when we can reap the benefits and the rewards of our works, of our labors. Same concept. So again, verse 7, Be patient, therefore, brethren, until the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth, and have long patience for it, until he receive the early and latter rain. Verse 8, Be ye also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. So that's how we learn how to be stoic. We gotta establish our minds in the right direction. Establish our hearts and our spirits upon the Most High. Always. Because if we always continually meditate and fixated on the Most High, that strength alone, that's enough strength right there to get us through any kind of troubles, tribulations. If we understand and fully know the outcome and the reward of that patience, It's the same thing. So be ye also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draweth nigh. Grudge not one against another, brethren, lest ye be condemned. Behold, the judge standeth before the door. Take my brethren, the prophets, who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience. Again, it says, Take my brethren, the prophets, who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience. Because if not all, but most prophets went through all kind of suffering and tribulation and a harsh death. If not all, but most of the prophets been through harsh affliction and tribulations, and they were patient through all that. They were patient and they was able to overcome. They was able to overcome dealing with wicked Israel, because Israel is a wicked people. So you can imagine all the scorn and the scoff and the slander and the persecution and the beatings and all kind of stuff they endured. You gotta imagine all that, because they had to suffer through it all. So it says, Take my brethren, the prophets, who have spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience. Verse 11, it says, Behold, we count them happy which endure. We count them happy which endure. And that's why we're going to read that too. But that's why when you read the book of Sirach, the second chapter, It says, woe unto them who have lost patience. These people were the people that lost patience are the ones that flip out at the sign of any time of adversity. They complain, they can't do it, they can't take it, it's too hard. These the ones that lose patience. The opposite of stoic. Let me see something real quick. The opposite of stoic. What is that? What was it? Impatient. What else? Hold up. Gotta get this real quick. What's the opposite? Opposite of long suffering. Impatient. Complaining. These are opposites of being long suffering. Impatient and complaining. So these are the ones who can't endure. That's why it says, woe unto you who lost patience. Our forefathers in the wilderness, they lost patience with the Most High every time. They complained about eating manna every single day, not knowing that the Most High was setting them up for something much better. They lost patience. They couldn't endure 40 years in the wilderness. They could not do it. What's 40 years in retrospect to time in general? 40 years is nothing. That's not even a whole lifespan. What's 40 years? They could not do that. They complained, they were impatient, they were ungrateful, and they were on long suffering. And guess what? They did not make it. That's a perfect example. Those are perfect examples. They couldn't do it. So verse 11 again, it says, behold, we count them happy which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy. Exactly. Like I said earlier, look at Job. He been through it the worst. Well, I'll say one of the ones, top 5 that been through it the most. Went through hell and back. But he was patient. He endured. He was long suffering. He didn't complain. He didn't speak evil against the Most High. His wife told him to curse God and die. He didn't do that. He rebuked his wife. So he been through everything at the same time, all at once. It wasn't just over a span of years, but he been through it. Y'all know the story. He been through it all at once. So everything hit him at one time, and not once did he forsake the Most High. And guess what? He was blessed with tenfold at the end. So again, behold, we count them happy which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job, and have seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy. So let's jump to Sirach, because even even James said it. We count them happy. But scriptures say, woe to them that lost patience. Sirach 2. This chapter never gets old. It doesn't matter. This chapter don't get old at all. It don't matter how far you are in the faith. It don't matter how many years you've been in, how strong you are. This chapter never gets old. I love this chapter of Sirach, chapter 2, because it hits every time. Sirach, chapter 2 and verse 1. It says, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul from temptation. So we got to get our minds ready for whatever the Most High going to throw at us, or whatever Satan going to throw at us. Verse 2, it says, set thy heart aright. Then scriptures just say, establish your hearts. Saying the same thing. Set thy heart aright. And constantly endure. It didn't say for one day, for a week, or for a month, or for a year, but for all these years, your whole entire life, you have to constantly endure and make not haste in time of trouble. Again, a person who's not long suffering, who can't endure the hardness, they're gonna make haste in time of trouble. They're gonna make haste. They're gonna flip out. They're gonna become irrational and do all types of things and end up hurting themselves spiritually. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure and make not haste in time of trouble. But that stoic man or woman, they not gonna make haste. They cool, calm, and collected. They good. They chilling. They going through all kind of stuff, but they're chilling. They good. They feel it. Don't get it wrong. They feel it. They know what's there. They know the tribulation, but they're cool. They're good. They're mellow. That person is long suffering. They can forbear for a long time. You got some people that go through all kinds of stuff for years, and you will never hear them complain. I mean, years. I knew a brother that was homeless for a few years, and you would have never known. Our brother was homeless for a few years, and he was good to the outside world. That's an example of being stoic and long suffering. He endured it, and now he's good. He's in a much better, blessed situation because wow, the Most High brought him through, and through his patience and long sufferance and stoicism, the Most High blessed him at the end of it with something far greater. To this day, another great example, such as that one. So it says, but peep this: if that brother made haste and didn't trust in the Lord, he probably wouldn't have got that blessing. He probably wouldn't have got that blessing. He didn't make haste. So it says, set thy heart aright and constantly endure and make not haste in time of trouble. It's like it, y'all. Cleave unto him and depart not away. That thou, it's like, y'all, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end. Verse 4. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully. Like Paul did. Whatever he went through, he took that cheerfully. He rejoiced in it. Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully. That's the opposite of complaining. The very opposite. You taking it cheerfully. You rejoice in it. You bless the Lord. And be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. Verse 5. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. Believe in him, and he will help thee. Order thy way aright, and trust in him. Let me jump down real quick, because I want to get to the point when I said about in verse 14, Salakia. No, verse 13. 12, Salakia, verse 12. Woe be to the fearful hearts and faint hands, and the sinner that goes 2 ways. Woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not, therefore shall he not be defended. Woe unto you that have lost patience. That's the point I want. Woe unto you that have lost patience. And what will ye do when the Lord shall visit you? So, if you lose patience, that's not showing the fruit, the spirit of being long-suffering. Well, that's not exercising the fruit of being long-suffering. The Most High is long-suffering. Because he would say that in verse 11. The Most High is very long-suffering. Very long-suffering. He's the master of being long-suffering. When you think about all that Israel do and they have done and still do today, and still didn't destroy yet, that's very long-suffering. The same way the Most High long-suffering, we have to do that. That's why scriptures say to be perfect even as your Father is perfect, because he embodies all these things that we need to be like him, to be righteous in his sight. So from there, let's go to Psalms. Psalms 37. Psalms 37 and verse 7. So again, these two things that we need that's going to really help us get the kingdom of heaven is learning how to be stoic and long-suffering, exercising the fruit of being long-suffering. Without these two things, you can't receive, you can't make the kingdom. You cannot make it, because his walk is not for the weak. So Psalms 37 and verse 7 through 8. It says, Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth the wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil. That's what end up happening. End up losing patience. You tired of waiting. You tired of holding out. You end up doing something evil, and now you no longer walking with the Most High because you lost patience. Then you back into doing wickedness because you lost patience. You didn't trust in the Lord. So don't do evil, but just rest in the Lord. Just be patient, wait, go through it, rejoice in it, and be glad the Most High is gonna, and have faith the Most High is bringing you through that. Because we know the Most High is not going to forsake us. We all know that. It's like we understand that until it's time to go through it, and then that's when it starts to get real. When we going through it, now it's like a lot of that go out the window. It's like, oh man, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I gotta do this. I don't know how to make it through. Not realizing, yo, the Most High is with us. He will help us through it. And that's something we gotta really learn. Just take it, just chill back, be still, and rest in the Lord and be patient. So again, Psalms 37 verse 7. Rest in the Lord and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. So we have to learn that. We have to learn that. We have to learn that. And a lot of that has to do with knowing how to control yourself. That's what it is. When you're going through trials and tribulations, you have to know how to master your emotions and know how to control yourself when it's time to be put to the test. That's another thing. A lot of that because we become hasty when we're going through a lot of when we're going through our problems and trials. We become hasty because we don't have no control over ourselves. We don't have no rule over our spirit, and that's a hard thing. It is a hard thing. Learning how to be stoic. Being stoic is a hard thing. You have to really master your emotions and know how to be in control of yourself. Even the word talks about that as well. Real quick. In Proverbs, just real quick, let me get it. Proverbs 25 and 28. Scriptures talks about that. 25 and 28. It says, he that have no rule over his own spirit is like the city that is broken down and without walls. Meaning, for example, if you ever seen like an ancient city, it has a tall wall around the whole entire city to protect it. But it says that he that has, meaning it's to keep the enemies out from getting in, right? So it's comparing a person who don't have no control as a city without no walls, meaning anything can get in. Any small thing can get in and disrupt that city. So it's the same way as a person who don't have no rule over their spirit. If you don't have no rule over your spirit, then that means any little thing, small thing, can get you, can set you off, can make you hasty, can make you complain, can make you ready to leave the faith. Any small thing. So learning how to be long suffering, learning how to be or learning stoicism, it comes with learning how to control your spirit and to have rule over your spirit. Because we got it's man, things gonna try you, it's gonna test your patience, but you gotta know how to maintain composure. You gotta know how to maintain that and roll with the punches. Excuse me, Shalaki, and roll with the punches. We have a hard time as the people doing that. Just taking on the chin, roll with it, keep it pushing, and keep trusting in the Lord. A lot of us struggle with that. So without learning how to master these things, the kingdom will be impossible to achieve. We need these things to get the kingdom of heaven. Because Christ even himself said it. He that endure until the end, the same shall be saved. So last one, I'm gonna close out. Last scripture, I'm gonna close out. So hopefully, this lesson right here is definitely something for us to work on for those who need it. Definitely is a an eye opener for those who need it. But Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10, it says, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might." So again, we reading again. Finally, my brethren or sister, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Can't be weak in this thing. We make it weak sometimes, but we can't be overall weak and not push through. And the power was might, Salakia, verse 11. Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Because we know this, the things that we're going through is all spiritual. It's all spiritual. It's spirits and demons and Satan that's trying to take us out the way from receiving the kingdom. That's what we're fighting against. Spiritual wickedness. Rulers of the dark of this world. Who are the rulers? Satan and his demons. The hand is given to the wicked. I mean, the earth is given to the hand of the wicked. Slakia. The earth is given to the hand of the wicked. So that's what we war against. And that's what we up against. So a lot of that stuff we have to go through, or most of it, if not all, is all spiritual. It's all spiritual. So verse 12 again. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Verse 14. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness. Verse 15. And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. Perseverance. Another key word. Let's define that for those who don't know what that means. Another key thing. Perseverance. These things go hand in hand. These things go hand in hand. It says persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. So if we're trying to make the kingdom of heaven, we got to be persistent and striving in righteousness. Persistence even in adversity and difficulty. We got to have that. We got to put these types of characteristics and these fruits and these the fruit of spirit on. All these things going to help us achieve the kingdom. So again, verse 18, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints. And I'm gonna stop right there. So these are the things that we need that's gonna really, really, really help us get the kingdom of heaven. Because only adoring for a time and quitting is not it. That's not how we do it. That's not how we're going to achieve it. Thinking that it's going to be smooth sailing is not it. It's not the way. But being able to be long suffering and patient and persistent and being in control of your spirit, practicing stoicism, these things is going to equip us and help us in our time of trials and tribulations, which ultimately is going to lead us to the kingdom of heaven. So we need these things that's going to help us endure until the end. That's how you endure, is by these characteristics. So like I said, I hope this lesson was edifying. I hope, we all learn something from this. I hope it will, help us furthermore in our walk, in our spiritual walk, trying to increase in our spirit to really perfect this walk. And I hope this definitely did edify those who really, really need it, because I know for a fact, we all struggle in some way or fashion and need to hear this to help us push through these trials and tribulations. So with that, I'll leave it open for an extra moment for any questions, for any comments or any concerns before I close out. But I hope that helped somebody this about Shalakia. Perfectly unordinary. Says, I'm glad I found you, brothers. All praise to the Most High. I was around the camp that was so wicked that I'm still healing. Sister or brother, I can't tell, Salakia. I'm definitely sorry to hear that you experienced that. Keep following the Most High. That's all I can say. Don't trust in man, trust in the Father, and always rely on the Father. It's sad to hear stories like that people go through things in congregations. Or sister, okay, Salakia, sister, Salakia. But keep enduring, sister, keep enduring. It says the disciples knew the reward for their suffering was going to be great. Exactly. And we do too. We know it's going to be great too. We know it's going to be great. Hold on real quick. Let me see something real quick. Let me find this precept. We know it's going to be great. I got to bring this out real quick. 1 Corinthians 2:9. It's one of my favorite precepts. But I'm going to bring it out. 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 9. It says, but as it is written, I have not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God had prepared for them that love him. Exactly. They know it, and guess what? We know it too. We know it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. That's why Paul said, this present world is not compared to what's going to come later on. I think that's Romans 8, if I'm not mistaken. See if I can find that real quick. Yeah, Romans 8 and 18. It says, for I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. So he says, this present suffering, it's not even worthy to be compared to what's going to come later on. Exactly. That reward is going to be great for everything we're going through. If we endure to the end, that reward is going to be great. Definitely hear this. All praise to the Father, sister. Definitely all praise to the Father. Definitely try to give edifying lessons that's going to help us further advance in this walk. So I thank the Most High for that. Through Yahweh Shah, always. Says we have to be intentionally every day practicing patience, long suffering, right? Meekness and humbleness, right? Exactly. Yahweh Shah states in his word, put on clothes. Exactly. Yeah. You gotta do that intentionally every day until it becomes second nature, until it becomes muscle memory. You gotta practice that intentionally and do it every day. Because really, and I said a long time ago, I said the fruits of the spirit or the virtues is like a muscle, right? You have to exercise it for it to grow. Meaning you're not gonna see results right away. Meaning you gotta work at it and keep doing it, and later on it'll become easier. And that muscle or that spirit or that virtue that you're working on will start to grow. Same thing when you're working out, you're doing push-ups or whatnot, or you're doing, your squats. The more you do it daily, the easier it gets because you're building that muscle. So it's the same way when we try to practice walking in the spirit. By us striving every day in the spirit, after a while, it's going to become easier. Where it's in us and it's us to be like that. So that's the point we got to get to. That's the point we definitely have to get to. So you brought up Colossians 3. I'm going to get it real quick. Colossians 3. 3 and verse 12 to 13. It says, put on therefore as the elect of God, holy and beloved, vows of mercy, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering, forbearing one another, and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Christ forgave you, so also did ye. So like I'm laughing because anytime any conflict happens within Israel, it's an automatic beef. It's problems now. Like we don't even know how to forgive and move on and squash issues. It's a problem now. Even in the faith, it's a forever problem now. Talk about long suffering, man. Israel struggle with that. Israel struggle with that, and we think long suffering just mean dealing with things of the world. No, that's even dealing with people. With your people, you got to be long suffering. That goes hand in hand. You got to be long suffering. You got to be able to forgive and move past issues and trespasses and keep going. we can't. We don't know how to do that. It's terrible. Talk about long suffering. All praise to the Most High. The word, the sister. All praise to the Most High. So yeah, Israel. I hope it was edifying. I hope it definitely helped you in some kind of way. So Loggy for waiting for so long to do another lesson. It's been a lot going on for the past few weeks. So I definitely appreciate y'all bearing with me. So I'm gonna try to keep these things rolling again. So until next time, family, keep enduring, keep practicing the fruits of the spirit, keep striving, and continue to have a blessed Sabbath. Until next time, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Keep enduring, family.